After Nebuchadnezzar dies, his son takes over and is a complete fool. And he doesn't like the fact that Daniel is so privileged. Daniel is now prime minister. He runs the whole kingdom for Nebuchadnezzar. Just like Yusuf. Right? He's the mirror image of Yusuf, but in a different era. And now the son, he's not on any of it. So he seeks to insult Daniel by going into the warehouses, take out the sacred stuff from the temple, and let's use that for our parties. So the temple, the temple in Jerusalem, they had all these sacred things. They had all these special things, and that were sacred to them. He says, let's use them for our parties. So use them to drink. And one night, Daniel just sees there's no good in this person. So he makes a dua, and he warns him, and he leaves. He's at one of these parties that they're having, and thereupon, a woman screams. After Daniel leaves, a woman screams. Then another woman screams, another woman screams. Then everyone is in shock at what they're seeing. They're seeing a hand disconnected from a body writing on the wall in Hebrew, in red ink that is dripping like blood. Immediately, he's like, get Daniel. This is one of these miracle things again. Daniel comes in and he reads it.
Do your stuff, man. Come on.
Do your thing. Tell us what it means. And he just disrespected him. Now they want his services in reading these miracles and these warnings. He says it's very plain language. You disrespected God. You're done. In only a few days, you're going to be out of this kingdom. That's where we get the saying, the writings on the wall, is from there. It's from the Bible. 3-4 days, the Medes come in, a different king, and kick him out. Okay? They come in and they kick him out. They take over. It's like a rival branch within the Persians. They're still Persians, but it's a rival branch. They kick out that family and they take over. Okay? And that king, of course, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So that king, he knows the fallout with Daniel. So he actually favors Daniel. And he says, let's talk. And they talk. And he knows Daniel. Daniel's a household name. I want Daniel on my side. So Daniel and him, they're good. He puts him as prime minister. He has a big meeting. Here's the new government, right? The new government. Daniel is prime minister. Everyone else is under Daniel. And Daniel's going to continue to run the kingdom, right? So these ministers get very jealous. And they plot. And they scheme. And they go to the king. And they say to him, in honor of your monarchy, we built you a statue. You're the first Medes king, right? We built you a statue. And we want you to sign a decree that everyone must prostrate to this statue on every day that we have a festival. Okay. He says, sounds good. Signs it. He doesn't realize Daniel can't do that. Okay. And he loves Daniel. So it was a trick. They knew they couldn't get Daniel on anything. You can't defeat this man, but you can get him on his religion. And so fitna between him and the king. So the day comes, and the king comes out, the idol's unveiled, a reveal, okay? And everyone, the music starts going, and everyone prostrates to the idol, to the statue. Daniel, he's not there. King says, Daniel. They say, hey, king, Daniel's not here. Your prime minister's not showing up to this biggest, this is an insult. And in their world, once a king writes an edict, he can't go back. That was one way to be stable. And the punishment written in this edict, whoever doesn't do this has to be eaten by lions. And this is how Daniel will end up in the lion's den. So the king privately goes to Daniel. I said, they got me. I can't go back on the edict. I got to put you in the lion's den. Daniel says, I can only worship God. They used to pray 3 times a day in this story. Morning, middle, and at night. So he said, I pray to God 3 times a day. I can't pray to any other God. He said, I know, but I'm stuck with the law. I have to put you in the lion's den. So he puts him in the lion. They starve the lions first. Then they bring Daniel on the fateful day, and the king can't sleep. He's a great prime minister, and he loves him. And this is all a trick. And he says to these ministers, I know you tricked me. You're trying to get him. I'm stuck. So he can't sleep all night, tossing and turning. It's supposed to come in the morning, and they're waiting to see Daniel eaten by the lions and killed. They find Daniel praying in sujud with 2 lions sitting next to him. And that becomes the signet and symbol of Daniel. Centuries later, in the Khilafah of Umar bin Khattab, they find the tomb of a man wearing a ring, they said, of a man praying with 2 lions next to him. That becomes the symbol of Daniel. The king is beyond happy, and then he turns his rage on the ministers who plotted this, throws them in there, and they get devoured. And that's how the story of Daniel comes to an end. The next Persian king is also good, and he eventually allows the Beni Israel to go back, and that is Cyrus. And Cyrus allows them to go back. And it's one thing, it takes time. And here we get the first, really the beginning of the new civil war between the Jews and the Samaritans. While this is happening, and the Jews are in enslavement in Babylon, what's going on in Samaria? Something unique is starting to happen. The Samaritans are becoming monotheists. They find the stories of the Bible of Moses more compelling than the stories of the idols. And they start a movement purging shirk out of Samaria. And they start reading the Bible, and they're like, we don't want these idols. We want God and the Bible and Moses. They love Moses. They love all the stories of the Bible. These are the Adam, Noah, God. These are the real stories. And while this is happening in Babylon, the Samaritans are purging their society from paganism. And when the news comes that the Jews are coming back, the Samaritans are so happy. They're like, they're going to be so happy to see we're not pagans anymore, right? So Nehemiah, these other figures come down, and they start rebuilding the temple. And the Samaritans send a delegation with their leader, and they come down, and they say, hey, Jews, surprise, we're converts. We're all monotheists, right? So we're here to help you build the temple. The shock of shocks. The Jews said, you guys aren't going to lift a finger or touch a brick. You're a bunch of dirty pagans. And that sows the seed of a bitter civil war between them. So the Samaritans go nuts. What the heck? We converted. We eliminated paganism, and you're going to treat us like this? We're believers now. We worship God. We keep the Sabbath. We follow the Torah. We're dressing like you. We're doing everything. And you're going to treat us like we're kuffar? So they lose it. The Samaritans go back up. They send a delegation back up to Persia. They say, warning, you let these Jews build the temple, you're not going to see a shekel of tax. They're not going to pay taxes. They're not going to give you a dinar or a dirham. They're going to be a problem. So they rat them out. Then edict comes down. Stop all building of the temple. They're like, what? Why? They investigate. The Samaritans ratted them out. The feud has just begun. It's Jews versus Samaritans for the next 400 years. Until Jesus comes. Okay. The Samaritans now, their anger and hatred towards the Jews, it's just doubled. Because remember, they were mistreating them in the first place when they were pagans. Now we're Jews and you're still treating us like trash. And the Jews start writing, the Samaritan is worse than a pagan. If you need to make trade, you trade with the pagan, not with the Samaritan. It's haram to touch him. You touch him, you lose your wudu. You don't walk in their territory. And if you do, you don't talk to one of them. Like, you treating us like this? When we're keep the Sabbath, read the Torah? So what do? They say, all right, you guys are the innovators. And they start turning it on them. And they say, we're actually the preservers. And we're not making Hajj to Jerusalem. They don't have Hajj, but they have pilgrimage. How do we get out of going to Jerusalem? We cannot go. We'll never go to Jerusalem. You know that some people say, Saudi's so bad, we're never making Hajj, right? The Samaritans are like, they think they're better because they have Jerusalem, right? Yeah? Well, show us where Jerusalem is in the Bible. Where's Jerusalem in the 5 books of Moses? The Pentateuch, the 5 books. The Bible consists of all the books of prophets. But the Torah specifically is the first 5 books of Moses. So, hey, look around. I don't see Jerusalem here. So they come up with the first bid'ah to justify their breakaway from the Jews. And that is, and their first blasphemy, Jerusalem is not a sacred site. Jerusalem, you made it up. You invented this to rule over us. So you guys are the innovators in this religion. We're purifying the religion. So what is the sacred site? Where Abraham lived. It's on our territory. Mount Gerizim. It's called Mount Gerizim. Mount Gerizim is the sacred site where Abraham was and Isaac. That's in the Torah, right? That's in Genesis. That's in the book. Where's Jerusalem in these 5 books? I don't know. Jerusalem came with David and Solomon. Oh yeah, where in the Torah does it say that we should follow another prophet? It never says it, right? It's not in the Hadith, they say. So they form a whole new version of Judaism where Mount Gerizim is the capital. Jerusalem is an innovation. It's a bid'ah. And all of you, the line of Zadok, the priests, you've added books, words from Joshua. You've added from Caleb. You've added from David. You've added from Samuel before him. You've added from Solomon. You've added from Jeremiah. It's all bid'ah. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say to add those books. Moses never said that. These are all false books and innovation. Oh, Jews, Samaritans. They think they're the saviors of Jews. Oh, Samaritans, purify Judaism from the Jews. And they start changing everything. Rules of the Sabbath, slight change. Holy days, find a way to interpret it differently. You ended up with 2 separate Judaisms, completely.
If you're enjoying our content and want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support helps us grow and reach more people. Also, if you'd like to help us produce even more frequent and high-quality content, consider contributing to us on Patreon. Every little bit helps, and it means the world to us. So, share with your friends, and let's keep this journey going together. Thanks for all your support.